How's everybody doing today? My name is Jerry Neuheisel. I'm the receiver coach here at UCLA. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'm bummed that we were dealing with COVID and we're all still masked up because I can't wait to potentially meet all you guys in person and do this live. That'd be way more fun. But today we're hopefully going to learn a little bit of football, learn a little bit about some option routes. Now before we start, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the video guys here. So Ken behind the camera, we got Robert up there up top. These guys are helping me get this done. So together we're hopefully going to do an awesome clinic where you guys are going to learn some football and kind of what we do in the passing game to help us out. Now, before we get into option routes, I know as soon as you see that title, a lot of people were like, whoa, that's really hard or that's a daunting task. Hopefully after the end of this, it won't seem as much of a daunting task. I think there's a lot of people that come through and all of a sudden after about an hour of talking to us, they're like, oh, we could implement this in our own offense. So hopefully that's the reaction you have today as well. But I will put my contact info at the end of this stuff. So if you want to email me and talk some ball, I'd love to be able to help any way I can. So let's get started. So the reason we love option routes here in our offense is for two reasons, right? First, it's a great first progression throw, right? And I don't think there's enough emphasis placed on how important a first progression throw is. There's some science and some data that will back it up here in a second, but it's also the easiest thing for the quarterback. As I get 3 steps and drop all of a sudden, and the guy who I think is supposed to be open first is open, there's an unbelievable amount of confidence that I have as I release that football. So it is a great first progression throw, a great drive starter, a great third down, and I just need to get the ball out of my hand kind of throw, and you're going to eliminate a lot of issues that you run into when all of a sudden you're trying to get to third and even fourth progressions, which sometimes we have in a drawing. The other thing is the ball goes to your best player, right? And I think that's another part of this thing that we forget all the time. We don't want to rely on the progression to get the player open. If we can design an offense and design a play to take our very best player and put him in a situation where he has a better matchup on the defensive player he's playing against, then I think you've got a great option to be able to get yourself open. So those two reasons right there are why there's a lot of our offense that's designed around having option routes as the beginning and the start of all of our progressions. Now, about first progressions, there's a little bit of science for you, right? So since 2018, 60% of all of our pass plays were thrown to the first progression. It's a lot. It's a lot. And when you look at the completion percentage data and you look at the time to throw data, it makes a lot of sense on why it's probably the most productive and why we keep going back to it over and over, right? If you look at completion percentage, our first progression, we were throwing 74% completions. Our second progression, 64%. Our third progression, 60%, and so forth. I think as soon as you get into fourth and fifth progressions, it's really one of those things where you're probably not going to have a lot of times where you get that far, right? If you look at time to throw, your first progressions, we usually got it out in 1.9 seconds. Our second progression in 2.3 seconds, our third progression in 3.4 seconds. Now what's most interesting is this. The average sack time since 2018 for us has been 3.5 seconds. So if you're getting to that third progression, you're really on the borderline of getting sacked. So if you're designing an offense, you really want to have it to where you're throwing the ball in that first or second progression, because there's not many quarterbacks, especially when you get young quarterbacks, that really will ever get to that third progression. It really turns into first progression, second progression, run, because you've really run out of protection time. So this maximizes your protection time, gets the ball out of your hands, and now you're completing it 74% of the time. And so that's why we keep going back to this part of our offense over and over again. Now, the other part about this is you get to exploit matchups. So in a second, I'm going to turn on some film. You're going to be able to see a running back on a linebacker, which honestly is some of the best matchups you have on the field. It's taking your best ball carrier against probably one of their worst coverage players, right? And that's not to say anything bad about linebackers. I know Coach Pelham is doing a clinic as well. So please, I think the world of linebackers. But usually that is our best matchup, a running back against a linebacker. But it also allows us to potentially get a tight end on a safety who is an off safety, to get us a receiver on a linebacker if all of a sudden we can get into empty. There's a bunch of different ways you can formation it to make sure that you can basically get to any matchup you want and have something that is an advantage to the offense, right? And so as we get into the film here, here's what I want to show you. This is us against Oklahoma a couple years ago. I'm going to circle Demetric Felton. He's in the backfield right here. He's currently playing for the Cleveland Browns. Actually started as a receiver for us and actually went to start playing running back. Unbelievable player. Now what he's going to do out of the backfield here is he's going to have an option route based off of this linebacker right here. As he comes out of the backfield, he is going to make the decision. If the player is playing inside leverage of him, he's going to break out. If the linebacker wants to flow over the top, then he's going to break in. And now all of a sudden, if they want to play zone and he wants to drop, then Dimitrik's going to sit and give his numbers to the quarterback and be open. So he has 3 different options that he can take on this play, but because we've repped it so much and because he understands it, it becomes pretty simple for us. So as we watch this play unfold, the linebacker is going to get over the top, and I apologize, this linebacker is going to blitz and they're going to drop this defensive end right here. As they drop the defensive end right here, the defensive end gets over the top of his outside shoulder, he cuts across his face and makes a big time play. I want to take another look at this from the back angle right here. So again, watching Demetrik Felton right here against this dropping end right here. So as Demetrik comes out, he takes this J release right here, sees him getting for width, snaps it back across his shoulders, and now we have a ball thrown right here, first progression, and a big time play. Now here's the very same play against Washington State. So now we're working against this linebacker right here. As we work that J release, we're working the same 3 options, right? If he's inside, we're going to break out. If he's outside, we're going to break in. And if he wants to play a deep zone, then we can just sit it up and get the ball to you real quick. So as we watch what unfolds here, Dimitrik's going to come out, the linebacker is going to stay inside leverage, he breaks out, away from where the coverage is, we catch the ball, he's able to make a miss on the sidelines, makes a big time play. This was one of the comebacks of all ages. I think we were down some ridiculous amount of points there in the 3rd quarter, and thankfully Coach Leach kept throwing the ball because I don't know how he came all the way back, but found a way to win this game, partly because of the kind of plays like this. So if we watch this from the back angle right here, we're going to watch Demetrik Felton again come out. Linebacker's inside shoulder of him right there. Big time play down the sidelines for us. Now let's move on to a tight end one. So this is our tight end, Greg Dulcich right here. Greg is going to be working against the safety who is off coverage. What we noticed in this game last year was that the safety was always off coverage on an outside or a tight end that was detached from the line of scrimmage. So that's the reason we got in this formation on 3rd down. So as you watch what's going to happen right here, he's going to run 10 yards vertical, and then he's going to be working off this leverage. If I've got outside leverage, I'm going to break in. If I've got inside leverage, I'm going to break out. If we got any sort of Tampa look or deep zone where nobody's there, he'll sit it up right there and give his numbers to the quarterback. Same exact read as what Demetrik was making out of the backfield, except now we're going to do it from a detached receiver and just get a little bit more yardage on this route. So he goes up, realizes he has outside leverage right there, snaps it across his face. That's a big time 3rd down conversion. Watch this again from the back angle right here. Works up, he's got outside leverage up here at the top, does a really good job of being efficient at the top of his route, right? Doesn't take a lot of time right there and try to pitter-patter his feet and all of a sudden gives the DB a chance to react to it. Really good at just making the one cut, cutting across his face, making a big time play and a conversion for us on 3rd down. Here's the same exact play in the same exact game. So now you got him again working off an off safety right there. Now all of a sudden, because they've seen it earlier in the game, now he's going to play with inside leverage, right? Doesn't want to get beat. Well, now Greg sees the inside leverage, breaks out away from him, and we still get the conversion right here. Really good job by Greg understanding the concept and what we're trying to accomplish. But I think it kind of shows you and highlights really why this part of our offense is really something that we really go back to all the time, especially on 3rd downs and especially on crucial situations. So if you watch Greg right here, DB wants to hop to his inside, he makes a good move, cuts across his face, makes a big time conversion for us 3rd down. Good job. Okay, this is another one. Now, because we got into empty, right? So this was a tight end down here. This was a running back right here. All 3 receivers to the field. These are one of those formations that's really hard for a defense to be able to cover because there's a lot of tendencies and a lot of tells you can find. Because of how they're playing it, we knew it was going to be zone, and we knew we had a one-on-one matchup right there with Kyle Phillips and their middle linebacker. So if you watch what happens, we're kind of clearing everything out. So we clear everything out, let him go one-on-one with the Mike linebacker, and he does a really good job of making a miss. Really good being efficient at the top, does a really good job showing hands and showing his chest to the quarterback, letting him know he's ready for the football, catches it, and goes up and makes a big time play. Watch this again from the back angle. This is one of his specialties. Kyle Phillips is graduating from here, was 1st team All Pac-12 this year, unbelievable player, and that's a really good job by him making that guy miss. I used to tell him all the time I could do this, but there's just no way. There's just absolutely no way I could do that in route running. Okay? And the other part of why it goes to the best player is we're talking about situational football, right? So if you watch the Super Bowl against the Rams and the Bengals, that last drive where the Rams are driving down, I think it was like a 15-play drive, Cooper Kupp was targeted 8 of those 15 plays, right? Earlier in the game, he was only targeted 2 other times. When the game is on the line, you want to make sure the ball is going to your best players. And so for us, why does it always have to be in that situation, right? It could be a first down, it could be a second down, but especially on 3rd and 4th down, and especially in a 2-minute drill, especially in the red zone. When the game is on the line, you want to make sure that you're not relying on the quarterback to have the correct pre-snap read or not get confused with anything, that the ball is going where you want it to go, and as you have a great chance of that first progression throw being open. So as we watch right here, we're running an option route. This is a 4th down play right here. That's Devin Asiasi running this. We wanted to call this because Devin is a 260-pound tight end working on an under 200-pound safety right there. We liked the matchup. We thought he could go across his face and be able to really make a big-time play right here. So if you watch what happens, he's going to run 10 yards vertical just like we talked about, and he's working off this guy's leverage. So he's got a little bit of outside leverage right there. He's going to snap it across his face, run into this big vacancy right here, and be able to convert this play. This is at the end of a half. We're trying in a 2-minute drive, trying to make sure that we can go make a play. Big time job. So let's watch this from the back angle one more time. Devin's working against this safety right here, right? We've got man-to-man coverage across the board. We're just trying to give him and clear the court. So we're going to move this running back that way. We'll try to clear the court so we can work the interior part of the field and be able to let him win off leverage, right? So as we work right here, watch Devin go upfield. All of a sudden he realizes now, I think as you look back, there could be an argument made that maybe he was staying on his inside shoulder right here. At one point, you just kind of have to rely on the receiver's instinct to get open. Right? And there's always times in practice that you could go and you could coach him, say, hey, what were you thinking here, and things like that. I think what he saw is probably that his hips were open. If he could cross his hips, there's no way he could come and make that play on that ball. So you also want to find a player, and this is why it goes to your best players, right? I trust him to get open. And because I trust him to get open, I can call this play over and over again. And the quarterback can trust him to get open, that he'll make the correct read and find a way to get into a spot where he can catch the ball for the quarterback, especially here on 4th down. So he cuts across his face, does a really good job being physical at the top of his route, pulls his back shoulder through, makes a big-time catch, and we convert on 4th down. Here's another play right here. So we're working Kyle Phillips right here. It'll be a common theme. He's one of our best option route runners right there. What he's going to do is he's going to work for width right here. He's reading the leverage of the defense. If they're playing on his outside shoulder, then he's going to run in. If they're playing on his inside shoulder, then he's going to run out. If it's zone, he's going to sit. The same exact read that we're doing on all these different option routes is exactly what you're going to see right here. We're going to clear it out on the interior part right here just to make sure that we can get inside and be able to clear out the court so Kyle can get open. So Kyle works up. He's got outside leverage right there. We've cleared out this entire middle of the field by formation and play, and now Kyle can run into that vacant hole right there and be wide open on a 3rd down conversion. He comes in, makes a big-time catch. We end up converting this 3rd down. Watch this one more time from the back angle. So as Kyle works out, we realize we've got zone coverage. He looks out. All of a sudden, my zone player is playing outside of me. I want to set him up, let the underneath coverage clear out to cover the basic by Cam right there, and now we're wide open to come back underneath. So we come back underneath on this play. Kyle's wide open. Really good job of converting. Moving the chains. The next part of this, I want to talk about a little bit of the coaching points that go into what we talk about in an option route. And first, it starts with an unless. I think when you get into option routes and you have these 3 different options, if the quarterback and receiver, running back, whoever's running it, aren't on the same page or don't have the same rules, it's really hard to anticipate where the throw should go. So all of a sudden they make the cut, and now the quarterback has to take another hitch and pat the ball one more time to be able to throw an accurate ball. To prevent this, we put in the unless rule. The unless rule basically is this. You are doing this unless. Right? So 99% of the time, I'm going to break in unless I get this specific look from the defense. Or 99% of the time, I'm going to break out unless I get this specific look from the defense. And it's all built into the play call to make sure that we know exactly if he's going to break in or break out. And with that unless rule, both the quarterback and the receiver are tied in to what the specific look we're looking for is. And so because of that, we can kind of throw with a little bit of anticipation, and the quarterback is now knowing what the receiver is going to do. They're working on the same page rather than their quarterback reacting to what the receiver does. And it takes some time and effort, but to be honest, the unless rule is kind of where we saw the key where we can now start doing these things, and we really up the percentage of how many times we're completing this ball. Okay, and so these are the other parts we talk about. We talk about route indicators. Now this isn't just universal to our, this isn't just unique to option routes. This is kind of universal for all the routes we run and what we teach here at UCLA. Right? We want to see a lot of sinking of the hips. Why? Because it's an indicator to the quarterback that I'm ready for the football, or I'm going to be ready for the football because I'm making my cut. I want to see your eyes. Right? I want to see your eyes because your eyes tell me you're ready for the football, and that is the angle you're going to be running on, so I know exactly the trajectory of the ball should be. Right? And I want to have a zone indicator. Now I've seen a bunch of different things from a lot of teams. Some air raid teams do a burst and sit. Some other guys just want to show you both your hands and your numbers. I've seen some teams clap. It's really up to you and what you decide as a team of what your zone indicator is. But it's an immediate tell to the quarterback like, hey, it's zone, I'm sitting, throw me the ball right now and get it in my hands. And what we've seen that what we'd like to do on zone and stuff is you'd like to sit a little bit underneath what the depth you're thinking about for man. The reason being is you'd love a chance for them to be able to face up the defense and make a miss. The further downfield you get, all of a sudden you get into a catch-tackle scenario, especially in man. Whereas if you can get it to him a little bit earlier, now you got a chance to get him the ball and let him go make somebody miss in space. What we talk about all the time is be close and be decisive. I think especially on option routes, this is the most important part. You have to be decisive. Right? And I'm going to talk about in a second about being efficient, but you've got to be decisive. You cannot pump fake the quarterback on this stuff and make him all of a sudden think you're going out and you do go in. It's about being efficient, making one cut, and making sure we're all on the same page. So right here up at the top, we're watching Kyle Phillips on the option route right here. So he's going to run 10 yards vertical. He's going to be playing the option route right there. All of a sudden, he sees outside leverage. So because he's got outside leverage, he's going to snap it across his face, break in at a flat quarterback-friendly angle, and be wide open to make this catch. Really good job getting vertical right there. One thing we teach on all of our receivers, and as soon as you catch it, we want to knife. We want to knife and get vertical as quickly as we can just to try to get as many yards on the play as possible. So here it is again from the back angle right here. Here's Kyle working against this defense. If you notice, he's inside leverage at the top of the snap. Now all of a sudden we get to the top of the break. Now all of a sudden he jumps outside leverage. Now we know to cut across his face. We've cleared the cord out. The Mike backer's pushing this way. Now we're wide open to catch the ball right there in that hole. Really good job by him. Here he is again. This is now a tight end running it. So it's the same option route right here. Now it's our tight end running it. And this is an interesting look. So pre-snap, we're looking, it's a one-high defense. In one high, he was thinking he was going to keep it down the seam, potentially keep and try to score a touchdown. We were trying to split this safety. Now, as we go to post-snap, what happens is this. The safety drops, he comes down. Now we've got a cover two look. We got a cloud corner down here. We're going to get a high wall linebacker right here. And now we get a full cloud look on this. So as he sees this, well, I don't want to break in because this guy's playing my inside. This guy's playing my outside. I'm really getting bracketed between these two players. So he knows just sit right in my grass right here, and he's wide open for the quarterback. Both of them are on the same page. Both of them understand the look, and this is part of that unless rule, right? I'm breaking in unless I get the high wall, then I'll sit down. I am breaking in unless I get a middle field open. Now I'm going this way. Right? And you can build in as many as you feel confident with that your guys can execute. But this kind of stuff, make sure that you're never a play behind when you're calling a pass play. Really good job by Devin. So let's watch him one more time. This is Devin releasing right here on the safety. Does a really good job diagnosing the defense on post snap, I'm sorry. Goes vertical, sees he's open, stay open in that grass. Does a good job of turning right there. Drop step, knife, get vertical. Good job getting the first down right there. Here's another one right here. So we're playing against Cal. Here's a zone look, right? So Demetric Felton's running that same one we saw earlier out of the backfield. What you're going to see is this. He realizes a zone drop. We've got deep coverage all the way around, and all of a sudden now he feels that he's open in space. So what you're going to see is this. As they go zone, they try to man up this player right here and lock him. There is nobody in this hole right here. So instead of going 6 more yards to sit or anything like that, he's just going to sit right there, turn his numbers to the quarterback, and be wide open. What it allows him to do is this. He gets the ball, and now we have distance, right? We have distance for him to be able to face up this defender, be able to make him miss in space. If all we can do is put our best athletes in space and give them a chance to make somebody miss. And so for us, this was a successful play, right? This was a second down. It's second down and forever, right? It's second down and over 20 right there. So now as all of a sudden we get the ball, he makes one player miss. Now all of a sudden we're off the races. We end up getting a first down on a 2nd and 20 just because of missed tackle, right? And they all of a sudden, the defensive coordinator on this other side must be pulling out his hair. He calls his own coverage thinking there's no way that he's going to keep everything in front of him. We make one guy miss throwing a check down essentially to 2 yards, and we're wide open. Really good job by Felton right here making this guy miss, getting vertical. Good job blocking on the outside by our receivers. Really good job. Here's another one coming out of the backfield, right? So this is us against SC. All of a sudden, the defender wants to jump outside, wants to play his outside leverage. So inevitably, Felton wants to break in away from where the coverage is going. What I love is this part. He realizes that as he breaks in, that now all of a sudden I'm right between this hole. I've got the inside backer right here. I've got the outside backer on the side of me. So he does a great job of turning his shoulders to the quarterback, which inevitably slows him down. By slowing himself down, he makes sure he stays within this little window to catch the ball, and then he can drop step and get vertical and hopefully make him miss a tackle. So watch what he does right here. Catches it right in that little hole, drop steps, gets vertical, and is able to get some run after the catch. Here it is again from the back angle. Watch Felton, number 10, out of the backfield. He's working this way. Backer wants to fly it over the top. He cuts across his face and does a really good job of turning that back shoulder to the quarterback. Really, really talented player. Cleveland Browns got a great one. Okay, the last part of this, and we kind of touched on it earlier, but I do want to make sure it's an emphasis, is you have to be efficient. I think the one part about receiver play is that we forget that sometimes there's a pass rush. And we get lulled into this because in 7-on-7 there isn't one. Right? We don't have a countdown clock all the time. We don't tell them when they're going to be sacked. And so because of that, we get a little bit lackadaisical, and we think on these option routes, we have all day to get open. And I think the 7-on-7 that these kids grow up playing, all this different stuff kind of aids to that problem. So in order to correct that, what we talk about all the time is you have to be really efficient. We don't want to get to the top of the route and spend a ton of time trying to make the guy miss, right? We want to be a one-cut operation. We want to make sure that we're efficient and that we're respectful of that. You need to be open when you're supposed to be open. If the quarterback is taking 3 and a hitch to throw it, then you better be open on 3 and a hitch. You better not be at the top of your break or anything like that. If it's just a quick or catch set throw, then you better be open as it is in quick game. You've got to make sure that you have a timing in mind so that you and the quarterback are on the exact same page. So as we watch right here, here's exactly what we don't want to have happen. So if you watch Kyle right here, Kyle's running that same option route. He's going to work for 5 yards vertical right here. He's going to be playing off this guy. What happens on this is he takes too long at the top of this route, and so the quarterback ends up having to pump fake it, right? All of a sudden he doesn't know which way he's going to go. He's taking too long, and now all of a sudden we run into problems, right? So as you watch what happens here, Kyle gets to the top. He takes too long at the top of a break. The quarterback has already pumped it, looking for him to throw. Thankfully, he's off enough that he's able to reload, and we can make a big-time conversion here on 3rd down. But this is what we don't want to have happen. This hop step and going into it, we want to make sure we're a little bit more efficient. We want to work for speed up to here at the top of our route. We want to be a one-cut operation. The quarterback knows exactly what we're doing with all of our indicators on the route, and now we have a great opportunity to complete this football within time without having to rely on either the quarterback to make a pump fake, the quarterback to hang in there, or anything like that. We want to be really efficient with our protection time and really efficient in our route running. So here's a good example of how we correct this, right? So here's Kyle running the exact same route right here. He's working off this defender right here. You're going to notice he's got outside leverage. Now all of a sudden he cuts across his face. He's way more efficient at the top of the route just as a one-cut break. We can put it right on him. We end up getting this conversion right here. Really good job. Let's watch it one more time from the back angle. So we're working here. He starts off as inside leverage. All of a sudden by the top of it, he works his inside, thinks he can cross his face. We trust in our players to make the right decision and making sure that they get open. He cuts across his face, ball's right on him, and we end up getting the first down right here. Really good job by Kyle. Here's another one. So watch Demetric Felton out of the backfield. The same option route we've been talking about. Now all of a sudden he's going to release wide. Now all of a sudden the backer is going to fly over the top. He does a one cut, cuts across his face, and then the rest is history. 97 yards of the house. Good job by our receivers blocking downfield. Not really takeout blocks, not really one block that you'd write home about as the greatest block in the world, but just enough to get in the way to get our guy to the house. Here it is right here. Watching Felton right here. He comes in, backers outside of him, one cut, ball's on him, and we're off to the races. Good stiff arm. Really saving our receiver's butt right there, because we probably should have had a little bit better block than that one. Okay, working right here. So we're working the option route down here. So we're going to run the same clear out right here. We're working down here, and all of a sudden we're just reading off this guy. If he wants to play outside leverage, we're going to break in. If he wants to play inside leverage, we're going to break out. If he wants to play zone, we're going to sit. We have all three options at our disposal. We're just trying to run to open grass, right? So as we work vertical right here, now we break in. Kyle fills that space. Now, one coaching point. Get vertical, Kyle. We used to get on him all the time. Everyone wants to hit a home run. Everyone wants to go sideline to sideline and make everybody miss. At the end of the day, we're about yardage, right? As soon as you catch that ball right there, you got to put your right foot in the ground, get vertical, knife, and get as many as you can. Then give the ball to the official, and then we'll line it up and call it again, right? We don't need to go side to side all the time. So we go side to side. We don't get as many yards as we probably should have, but we do get the first down right here, and we're moving the chains. Here's again from the back angle right here. So we're watching Kyle on this linebacker right here. So we clear out the underneath coverage with the seam. Now all of a sudden we break back in, running back in there. Really good job by our guys making the correct read and throwing that ball with timing. So now what I want to get into is a little bit how we practice it, right? Now you know why we do it. Now you know kind of what we're trying to accomplish within the route, but now how do we practice it to make sure that it looks really good when we get to game day? And the really hard part that always comes into pass game is, well, there isn't enough reps in the day, right? We can run pass in 7-on-7, but it doesn't look the same as it does in team reps. We can run it in routes versus air, but it doesn't really look the same without a look. And so what we're trying to do is maximize our practice time to make sure that when we get it in the game, that we can execute it with flawless execution, right? And so part of it is a three-part approach. And the first part of that is this board work, right? And so what we're going to do in this board work is basically we are going to move these pieces around the board and be able to play the game like we would out there, right? We're not using anybody's legs. The players actually have to move these pieces, everything like that. This board actually has got some history to it. This board belonged to Homer Smith, and if you don't know who Homer Smith is, you should probably look him up. He's probably one of the greatest offensive minds that's ever been here at UCLA. My father was actually lucky enough to be coached by him. Then he was gifted this board by Homer, and that's how I got it when I got the job here. So this board means the world to me, and it's a really special thing of UCLA history, and so it will continue to be used. It's been lucky enough to get us to a bunch of Rose Bowls and a couple Rose Bowl championships, so it's only fitting that we bring it back in the building. Hopefully it's got a little bit of mojo left in it. So what we like to do is this. Like, I'll bring the guys in and we'll all sit down on the board. Let's talk about the Y first here, right? Let's say we're running an option route with the Y. He's going to be working, we're working 10 yards vertical as the same three decisions, right? He can break in, he can break out, or he can stop riding his feet in zone, right? It's the same exact decision tree. But now the player has to put his finger on the piece right here. He's going to move him vertical, and then as I move the defense around him, he has to react. So you're simulating the exact same decision point. It's just without doing it on the field, right? This is the first step of this. How many different reps can we get at this? And we could probably do it a million different ways. You can do it different formations. I can move the defense. We can do all these different things. And for the record, before I keep going on, I am very understanding that I am missing 4 defensive linemen right here. I understand that wholeheartedly. And for all the people who are counting at home, I do realize there's not enough defensive players, and I am gaining a unique offensive advantage with no defensive linemen on the field. But with that being said, it just cleaned up the picture a little bit, so you're going to have to forgive me. I'm an offensive guy first. That's why the board's faced this way too. Don't get on me about that. But that's how we get it done here in the receiver room. So let's go back into it. So the Y is going to be here, right here. We're going to work vertical on this thing. right? As he works vertical, this board right now is set up to play a cover one with a hole player, right? One of these backers is going to sit, they're banjoing the back right here, whichever way the back goes, then the other backer will sit in the hole, play the quarterback's eyes, and kind of try to play the whole middle of the field. So as it sets, we're going to send the back this way, the mic's going to push with him that way, we're working off this hole leverage. So as he works this way, now all of a sudden, Y is going to see that he's going to be moving with him there. As we see that, he's going to have to make a decision. Well, can I get on top of him? Well, if I can get on top of him, then I might just keep it on the top, because there's no reason to go, as soon as I'm getting undercut, I don't need to cut inside, right? If the guy's trying to play on his top shoulder right here, now I'm going to break in, I have to break past wherever that hole player is. I'm going to catch it either in that second window or in that first window, depending on which one the quarterback is ready to throw, right? And so as soon as you get that correct as a player, perfect. Moving on. Now we'll move the pieces around. Now I'm going to put him inside leverage right here. All of a sudden we're going to blitz the Mike, or sorry, in this picture we'll probably blitz the Sam. We'll put him inside leverage a little bit further off right there. The Mike will go with the back. Now it's a totally clear picture. Well, if he's inside leverage on me, when I get to the top of 10, I might have to break outside. I don't know. Maybe he started inside of me, and just like some of those clips we saw, he gets over the top of me on the outside. Now I got to break this way. It could go a million different ways. I can change the formation, I can do all these different things, but it's a way that we maximize the practice time, and we're trying to basically teach people the offense without always having to be on the field to do it, because you are limited by time on the field, right? There's another option route we run that we've been looking at over here. The A is going to work up, he's working off the nickel. So let's take the same exact look. We're going to motion the back out this way, we're going to push the backers this way. Now all of a sudden we get this one hole look again. Now all of a sudden the A realizes he's got that outside leverage. He wants to push that outside leverage, be really decisive at the top, get close to get open, break a one-cut break, be efficient with his time, catch the ball, and get vertical. It's the same exact look you just have seen Kyle Phillips run a bunch of times earlier in this cutup, right? Now we could do the same exact thing. Let's blitz the Sam linebacker now. Now the Mike's got this running back right there. We could move the nickel to inside leverage. Well, now he gets to the top. He's got to break out. We could do a million different things. I'm just trying to harp on the fact that this has probably been the most useful coaching tool. As much as being on the field is great, you run out of reps. Their legs only can handle so much. How do you make sure that they're fresh on game day? It's by maximizing the amount of time that you can do football things while you're not actually on the football field. And this has been an unbelievable tool for us. If you look, these shapes are even not perfectly cut. I did them myself off PowerPoint, and you could do them too. It's something I highly recommend, and it's a huge way that we help our guys get ready to be on game day, right? So let's move on. The next way to do this is to do routes on air. And I know routes on air becomes a little bit exhausting because of it, but as a coach, we need to make sure that we are actually giving them a look in routes on air, right? It's not so much about doing the route just to do the route. You don't want them to run it like they're the line on the piece of paper, because with an option route, there's a lot of things that go into it. He's got to make a decision, and he's got to do one of three things. So you've got to do as a coach is you got to simulate that look. And what I'm going to show you is we'll actually go through the line and we'll give them all these different looks and make them have to adjust on the fly, so they get more and more work at having to make that decision. And then as much of the team reps as you can possibly get in practice, right? I think the cool thing about option routes is because it can express itself three different ways, it actually can replace a couple other plays in your playbook. Well, I don't need a play where he breaks in, and I don't need a play where he also breaks out. I just know that the receiver is always going to run to where open grass is. And so the cool part about this is not only are you play ahead, not only are you throwing it to your first progression, not only are you throwing it to your best player, but you're always a play ahead and you're never a play behind, because you are calling a play that's allowing your best player to make sure you're always running to open grass. And so that's part of the reason we love it, and we spend so much time, finding the guys that can actually do this, right? So as we watch right here, this is me right here. I'm playing defense. I've heard a couple comments from my receivers. I might be the best DB coach or the best DB look in the Pac-12. I'm not for certain. I'm just going off of what they said, but also I asked the question and I am their coach, so I'm pretty sure they're required to tell me I am the best at this thing. But as we watch right here, so I'm going to play outside leverage against Kyle right here. I start outside leverage. Now, he's going to be running that same option route. He's going to be working in my inside shoulder right here. If I go inside of him, now he's going to break out. If I stay on that outside shoulder, he'll break in. If all of a sudden I get a deep drop and I want to play zone, now all of a sudden he'll hook it up in that same spot, right? So we're working the same exact decision tree, but we're doing it with routes on air. So the quarterbacks can get the same look. Everybody can get the same look, and we can really maximize our practice time. Right? I know we can't have the defense, we can't go 11 on 11 all the time, but this is a way to maximize our practice time and make sure we get the most out of it. right? So as we work right here, watch Kyle. I bump to his inside, so he breaks out. Now the one thing I would say, and he's notorious for it, you got to get more depth, right? Get a little bit more depth on this thing. The only time we really want to shortchange these routes is in zone. And if you remember, the only reason in zone is because we just want to get the ball in your hands and give you a chance to face him up, right? But in this one, it's not zone, I'm playing on top of you. You want to make sure that I'm getting all the depth and getting all the meat off that bone I can, so when I break out, now all of a sudden I'm getting a 5-yard completion, not a 2-yard completion, right? So we want to make sure we get our depth on this thing. The other thing that we also do by that is we want to make sure that we're creating the most separation we possibly can, right? We want to run vertical, we want to get him in a back pedal, we want to make a one-break cut. So right here, I think the decision is correct. I wish he would have got a little bit more vertical on this thing. I think he gets to 3. I wish he would have got to 5 on that, right? But he gets that rep. So now all the guys back here got to see that look. If you look, they're looking at me. All of a sudden, okay, when coach or whoever the defensive player goes inside right there, we need to make sure we break out on that thing. Now the next guy comes up in line. So here's Logan Loya. Logan Loya comes up, does the same exact route. Now watch me. I'm playing defense on him. I shade to his outside shoulder right here. So inevitably, what Logan knows to do is I want to get inside and get vertical. Now as I make that inside cut, I want to start shaving that shoulder because I don't want to get undercut, and I want to make sure I get vertical before I run into that potential hole player that the linebacker is right there. So it's another look that you could potentially get on that, right? Kyle's watching. Kyle can see that. All these guys in the back, they can see that. We're maximizing our practice time and making sure we're getting the most out of this, right? The last one coming up, this is Schloem. Bradley Schloem runs at me, he attacks me. All of a sudden, once again, I wish he'd just get a little bit more depth on this, right? I want him to get to 5. Now he does on the rounded cut, but I wish that cut was a little bit flatter and he got a little bit more depth on this route, right? But I do appreciate he's a one-cut guy right there, does a really good job of being decisive for the quarterback. He breaks out, and we have 4 completions. By the way, as most coaches know, when you're going through and trying to find clips like this, it's almost impossible sometimes to find the exact 3 clips that work for you in terms of look, and everybody caught the ball, and you sit there and you're going through your computer and it's the worst. But thankfully, I found these. I'm glad our guys, I've got some accurate quarterbacks in the back, so I owe them because they made my life really easy. So now let's take this practice and let's set the stage. So now we're playing against Stanford. We're in the Rose Bowl right here. Now we're working the same exact combination, and we're working off that linebacker, right? So as Kyle's working this route, he needs to make sure he gets his depth. What I want him to do is push inward, right? I want to attack his leverage. If he's inside leveraging me, I want to force him to go further inside. As I make him go further inside, now I've got more space to run out potentially and have an easier throwing lane for the quarterback, right? If I go vertical here, now I'm allowing this linebacker to pinch me out. This becomes a harder throwing lane, and you bring in the potential undercut on this play. So as Kyle works right here, I wanted to push for that linebacker right there and be able to work off his leverage. So he pushes vertical. This guy wants to stay inside and hold that position. So Kyle's going to do a good job of getting this. Now I think he's just a little bit quick on this. If you watch where we're coming, he's not bad. I think as he gets right there, he gets right to about 5 yards, perfect, comes out. Now, a lot of people say, well, why didn't he run out? Well, if you look at the pre-snap look, I think he was worried about the potential cloud. This was a team that all of a sudden could play a little bit of Palms technique. He could potentially play the half and he could come down. So because he was worried about cloud coverage, he really wanted to make sure he turned his back shoulder on this thing and protected himself against a potential ear hole shot right there. So if you watch Kyle come in, he attacks him, does a really good job creating a target for the quarterback, catches the ball, gets vertical, second down. Now what this helped us on is now all of a sudden, instead of being, 3rd and 10, now we're at a 2nd and 5. And we made sure that we put the ball, when also we're giving ourselves a great chance on 3rd down. Right? This isn't a 3rd down only place. This isn't a 4th down when the situation calls for it. This is an every down kind of thing that I think has become a staple of what we like to do. So let's watch this from the back angle again. So if we watch Kyle right here, as we move the back this way, now all of a sudden we know it's going to be zone coverage. They're not bumping with him, anything like that. The quarterback can get some easy man zone tells. As he comes in, he attacks him. This guy wants to stay inside, eyes on the quarterback. So Kyle knows now, perfect. I break outside. I give a great throwing lane for the quarterback. Does a really good job being decisive. A one-cut player. The quarterback can throw with some anticipation. And now we got a really good play right here. So we get there, make a good job, get to second. We get to 3rd and 5, give ourselves a better chance on trying to convert this 3rd down. Now, this is even better. So now we're down, right? We're down 20-10, 3 minutes and 44 seconds left. This game actually ends up being an overtime play. And I think this is kind of the reason, or an overtime game. And this play is probably the reason that we even got as far as overtime. If you notice, it's 4th down and 4 to go, right? 4th down and 4 to go. We're on their 31-yard line. We're in the third quarter, right? We need this one to be able to get some momentum back. We got to make sure that we're on the right track. So we got to make sure we get this play. This is one of those where everyone's asking, should you kick a field goal? Should you not? Well, when you have option routes and you trust your guys to get open, I think this is one of those things where you can go out and trust your guys to make the play. So we're watching Kyle right up here again, right? Kyle, as we notice what's going to happen with this motion, we've got a backer running with us. So we know we got man coverage. We're working man coverage. I've got outside leverage, which tells me I've got a whole player inside. So Kyle knows what he wants to do. He wants to work to that outside shoulder, force this guy to get a little bit wider in it, right? And then be able to cut across his face and catch this ball before the whole player can come make this tackle. So as you watch what Kyle does right here, he does exactly that. Pushes, one cut guy, does a really good job of taking that back shoulder and turning it to the quarterback, giving him his full chest, kind of like what we talked about with Demetric Felton earlier when he ran into the same exact situation, right? Now all of a sudden gets inside, catches that ball, and is able to split him. And if only he was just had a little bit more balance, we might have been able to miss that tackle, been able to score a touchdown. I tell him, I show this play to him all the time. This has been on a cut up for a long time, and I always get on him that he has one less touchdown in his career just because he couldn't break that tackle, and he will never let him forget it. Now, as you watch this from the back angle again, right? So Kyle's right here. He's got outside leverage man player. We're clearing out the court for him to go. We're going to send the motion. This backer is going to run with it right there, and it's going to look really good. Now, as soon as number 2 comes back, he realizes the quarterback's eyes are coming back. Kyle's going to do a really good job of being decisive, giving the back shoulder to the quarterback, being able to make this throw right here. Boom, split him, just missed that tackle. But a really good job by him on a play where we really needed it, right? 4th down conversion. When the game is on the line, you want to be able to go to the players that can really make those plays for you. And to be honest, it's one of the reasons that I've fallen in love with this package. It's because, you know, it simplifies a lot of the passing game for you in where there could be a lot of confusion, right? All these different progressions. We go 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. Well, if football can go back to what they're used to playing, right, in the backyard, right? When you went in the backyard and you were calling a play as a quarterback, you didn't get in the huddle and say, okay, you're going to run this and you're in my first progression, then you're going to run this and you're going to run the second. You're going to see the whole thing ended up being this. Everybody get out of the way and we're giving the ball to that guy. And you just go find grass. It's the same thing that happened, you know, with the Chiefs when they were in the playoffs, right? All of a sudden they have that comeback and you see that clip of Travis Kelce where he's saying, hey, I think I'm going to do this. I'm going to run to grass. And then you get up to the snap and all of a sudden Mahomes is sitting there saying, yeah, Kelce, do it, do it. It's the same type of thing. This is backyard football. This is letting your best player go and be his best self. And I think that's why it's become such an important part of what we like to do on offense, and it's something that we will continue to do as well, and hopefully something you can add to your offenses too. Now, on here, I wanted to make sure that I not only thank you guys for watching. This has been a really cool experience for me. I've not gotten to do a lot of clinics this year, so to be able to talk to you guys and talk a little bit of ball, even though it's through a screen right here. We've got the video guy back behind me. He's enjoying it, hopefully, but it's been a lot of fun for me. So I wanted to thank you guys, but I also recognize that the one part of this that we don't talk about is I can't be there to answer questions. So what I'd like to do is I gave you guys my contact info. Here's my email. Here's my Twitter. Please reach out to me if you want to talk some ball. Please reach out if you want to come and see our place. I would love to be able to sit down and be able to answer any questions you guys might have about this or maybe some other topics we're talking about. But I'm really proud to be able to kind of show you guys, I think, what makes our offense special, and really proud to be a UCLA Bruin. So I appreciate everybody for watching. Thank you to Ken and Robert for helping me film this, and go Bruins. See you guys.